Hello YouTube, my name is Nero. Today we have some Call of Duty World at War, at least for the very beginning of this video. I do not have a lot of World at War footage just sitting on the old PC, but I do have this gameplay here, so hopefully you guys will sit back, relax, and enjoy, because I'm sure all of you guys have heard by now, but there are lots of leaks, lots of rumors going around right now in regards to the next Call of Duty game. The rumor going around, with images of course, is going to be Call of Duty World War II. And that's not me trying to describe what the game is going to be like. That is actually me giving you the actual name of the game in question. Now, of course, once again, this is all leaked information, so take all of it with a giant pinch of salt. There is a 99.9% chance this is fake, at least in my opinion, until we get actual confirmation from Sledgehammer, which they have been eerily quiet on this so far. I mean, everybody at Sledgehammer, like all of them, everyone that works at Sledgehammer, all of their Twitter accounts, absolutely silent since this particular leak. So I'm wondering, is that telling? Is that damning? I really have no idea. But until they actually confirm things, just take everything with a pinch of salt here. But it's looking like the next Call of Duty game could be called Call of Duty World War II. It would make a lot of sense, honestly, with the way they have been hyping up COD 2017, which, let's be honest, they haven't talked a lot about it, but back to basics, back to its roots, boots on the ground, and even talking about wanting to have more gore and make it a very gritty Call of Duty. All of those things are synonymous with World War II, at least in my opinion. So it's entirely possible that whatever COD 2017 is going to be, it could be World War II. I'm not saying it's going to be Call of Duty World War II, but it could just be a World War II game. Now, if you guys would like to go ahead and check out the images for yourselves, there's going to be a link to them down there in the video description. I can't, of course, show you them here in this video because there's a chance that it's copyrighted and Activision could actually take the video down as a result. I do know there are other people out there who have some of these images included in their video, and those videos have not yet been taken down, including the original leaks, but that could be twofold. Maybe Activision is not taking that down yet because they don't want people to know this is actually true until they get their ducks in a row and give us a proper reveal. If I remember correctly, when they leaked to us that Call of Duty Infinite Warfare was a thing and that the game was going to be called Infinite Warfare, it was only like a day or two after that they actually gave us the official promotional material and gave us, I think, even a trailer and stuff like that. Like, they were pretty quick once it was actually leaked, so maybe that is something they're holding off for. I have no idea. Either way, I'm not going to risk my YouTube channel to show you guys some pictures. There's a link to them down there in the video description. If you guys would like me to try to give you a summary of what these leaks are actually going to show, I can do my best here in this video because, of course, there are some of you that watch this on mobile and it's kind of an issue to go back and forth between the video and images and so on and so forth. So to try and summarize what we have been leaked so far, it's basically promotional material. You have like box art and covers and stuff like that. You actually have some steel booklets, I'm going to call them, where basically if you order a special edition of Call of Duty, you get like this steel case for your game compared to the normal plastic one you would pick up. And basically it's American soldiers storming beaches. Every single one of them, American soldiers storming beaches. Obviously you get images of D-Day when you think of that, and that's what it kind of looks like. Now what's really interesting is none of this art has been debunked. If we can all take off our hats and remember for a moment Call of Duty People's Army in the 5 hours we thought that was actually real, that art was quickly debunked, right? Some of the stuff that we saw in the gameplay and stuff, it was very quickly found on Google. It was just material they took and recolored a little bit from like one of the old Battlefield Vietnam games or something like that. The images and the material that we've seen so far with Call of Duty World War II has not been debunked yet, which is definitely pretty interesting, and it's something that people are talking about quite a bit online. If we can assume for a moment that this is actually real. Now, just for this portion of the video, we're going to assume this is actually real. I have so many questions regarding Call of Duty World War II. Number one, are vehicles going to be in this game? Because every single Call of Duty game, or at least I think every single World War II Call of Duty game that has ever existed has had vehicles in one way or another. The most recent one, of course, was Call of Duty World at War with their tanks. Can we expect vehicles in a Call of Duty World War II? What about the weaponry? Is it mostly going to be semi-automatics and bolt actions? Because if that's the case, I worry that the modern gamer is actually going to get bored of using those pretty quickly. Is it possible that Call of Duty World War II would be full of prototypes like Battlefield 1, which would kind of take away from the authenticity of the game, but also make it so it's more interesting to your average gamer? That's definitely a big question. Will the game actually feature camos? Call of Duty World at War did not feature camos. What about Gib? I mean, obviously Gib was an awesome feature in World at War, but I remember them saying something along the lines of they had to pick and choose between having weapon camos and having a Gib system. If you guys don't know, Gib is what would cause you to basically lose your legs or lose your arms or lose everything when you would explode or die to a high-powered weapon like a PTRS or a double-barrel shotgun in World at War. It was pretty much exclusive to World at War, and honestly, it was one of my favorite features. It was so cool at times. You know, even if you died to a grenade, you would sometimes still be taken aback when you see your armless, legless corpse flying through the air. It was a really cool system that we never really had in Call of Duty after that. Can we expect to see that as well as weapon camos in Call of Duty World War II? Now, this is actually going to be coming from Reddit. I found out about this guy that I'm now following on Twitter for obvious reasons, but Sledgehammer Games' creative director, he has in his Twitter bio saying, putting guns, gore, and grit in the next Call of Duty. That says to me, we're probably going to have gore and grit in the next Call of Duty, so perhaps a give system in the multiplayer. That sounds pretty awesome. What about specialists, right? Because the past two Call of Duty games have had specialists, or at least an equivalent of specialists. Is that something we can expect in a World War II game? Because that sounds kind of odd to me to have somebody that has essentially superpowers, right? We don't... Me personally, and this is not even just for World War II, this is like for Call of Duty going forward, I don't want Power Rangers in my multiplayer, personally. I'm not a big fan of them. It would be awesome if we could just go back to not having them. I think that would be better for the game. Me, personally, that's just what I think, but of course, feel free to disagree. Does Sledgehammer Games have any plans of revamping the business model? Because I will be damned if I'm going to see a Nazi dabbing with a pink camo, right? I will not be able to do that. Oh man, I would probably still play it though, to be honest, at least for a while. But still, can you imagine having a German soldier up there dabbing and doing, I don't know, the Soldier Boy at the end of the game? Like, I hope that stuff is not the game if it's a World War II game. And if we do have weapon camos, can we not have bright pink marijuana camos and stuff like that? Like, can that just not be a thing if we're having a World War II game? Can it remain historically accurate? We're going to talk about that going forward, but can it remain historically accurate to some extent? What about weapon variants? Obviously, that's a big question. Like, what do they have planned with the business model in Call of Duty World War II? That is definitely a big question that I think a lot of people want to know the answer to. I think everybody kind of expects supply drops to be in this game, but how can they try to make it an authentic World War II style game, but still have supply drops? You can go the route of Battlefield 1, but who buys stuff in Battlefield 1? Because the stuff you get from there is like useless pretty much. No one cares about it, to my understanding anyway. So I have no idea, guys. It's really, really confusing what they could potentially do with this business model if it is, in fact, a World War II game, and if they do, in fact, want to remain authentic to World War II. What is the plan for Killstreaks in this game if we are going to be set in such a technologically limited time frame? For crying out loud, back in World War II, we would use big balloons to defend against aerial attacks. Like, what are we going to do in terms of Killstreaks? The only Call of Duty game that was featured in World War II that had Killstreaks was the second ever COD game to have Killstreaks, so we only had 3 of them. We had Spy Plane, Artillery Strike, and Attack Dogs. Like, are we going to be able to expand upon that? Are we going back to only having 3 kill streaks? I personally hope not. Like, what do they plan to do with that? What about historical accuracy within this game? Are we going to have swastikas? Are we going to have Nazis? Are we just going to have a bunch of Iron Eagles, and are we going to call them Germans? Because I personally don't want that. Now, obviously, it's a big deal. You don't want to have swastikas. It offends people, so on and so forth. But in my opinion, if we're going to have an authentic World War II game, let's make it authentic, right? Let's have some swastikas. Let's have some Nazis. It sounds like I'm really advocating the Nazi party here, but I'm really not. I just want an authentic game here. Like in Call of Duty World at War, we had swastikas, right? We had Nazis, and you were killing Nazis. It was a really cool thing. But I wonder if they're actually going to go ahead and do that, because if you've noticed, after World at War, they completely dropped anything regarding the swastika and anything regarding Nazis from the game. It used to be Nazi zombies. Now it's just called zombies, right? And everything that references World War II and all Call of Duty games pretty much after World at War, they only show like Iron Eagles. They don't really go ahead and call them Nazis or just call the Germans. Like, it's a very politically correct kind of thing that they do. And apparently, actually, in Germany, they completely change up that kind of stuff. Like, initially, it was like just for Germany. Then it kind of just became like an entire thing for the Call of Duty series. If you guys don't know, in Germany, they actually have a law in place that outlaws the use of symbols of quote-unquote unconstitutional organizations outside of the context of art, science, research, or teaching. So that's why you cannot actually see swastikas in Call of Duty games anymore, really. And I'm wondering, if we're going to have a World War II game, are we just going to kind of pretend the Nazis didn't exist? Are we going to like just, play around that? Are we going to pussyfoot around the entire situation? Or is it going to be a down-to-earth, gritty Call of Duty game like we all want it to be? And it sounds like I'm advocating. I'm really not a Nazi, guys, I promise you. But I want the game to have swastikas. I want to be calling them Nazis. And can we kill Hitler in this game? Because to my knowledge, knowledge, has there ever been a Call of Duty game that actually features Adolf Hitler in it? I think it would be awesome if we were to do something with Hitler, or at least be outside when he kills himself, because that's what happens in real life. I think it'd be cool if we were to do stuff like that. I want it to be a gritty, down-to-earth Call of Duty game. I don't want it to have, Power Rangers. I don't want it to have a really annoying business model. I don't want people dabbing and stuff like that. There are so many questions I have for this game. Again, assuming, of course, it's actually real, but we don't really know if it's real just yet. Now, it seems likely. It really does. Everybody in the community seems to be kind of behind this, whereas when other stuff happens, like, again, Call of Duty People's Army, everyone thought it was real for like an hour or two, and then pretty much everybody debunked it immediately. Nobody's been debunking this. Everybody is just hyping it up. And even people that you would respect within the Call of Duty community, they're hyping this up. Even people like Charlie Intel, which are actually very, I would say they're pretty neutral, right? They don't typically hype stuff up unless it's actually real. They seem to have like a sense when it comes to that. They either debunk it right away or they hype it up. And when they hype stuff up, it's typically true. So who knows if it actually is going to be true? It just kind of seems that way right now. And personally, I hope the game is going to be World War II. Now, there is so much more I could say on this topic, but I'm just going to leave it for now, because we don't have enough information, right? I didn't want to make this video initially because we don't have any information, but it doesn't look like we're going to be getting any, at least for a couple of days. And until somebody at Sledgehammer Games or somebody at Activision or somebody on the Call of Duty Twitter or somebody says something, we're not going to know, right? So I wanted to make this video saying that I personally have questions, and I would love to hear down there in the comments, what do you guys think about the prospect of the next Call of Duty game being called Call of Duty World War II? I think it's a weird name, but it makes sense. I'm going to try and cover this briefly for a moment. If the game is actually called Call of Duty World War II, every time somebody says World War II, or references it even, you're going to think of Call of Duty. Basically, Call of Duty is going to own the quote-unquote brand of World War II, which is both smart and evil if you think about it, right? So if you think about like what people call other games, it's COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, MW2, MW3, Black Ops, BO2, BO3, so on and so forth, right? They basically just boil it down. So if you ask somebody what they're playing, they're like, oh, I'm playing World War II. Right? And people are going to immediately think, oh, the new Call of Duty game, right? So every time somebody says or mentions or references World War II, suddenly they're thinking about Call of Duty. Just, it's a good name if you think about it, but at the same time, it seems like a terrible name. Call of Duty World War II. Kind of implying that there aren't already 4 other Call of Duty games that were set in World War II. And if this is World War II, where's World War I? It's a weird title. I really think it is. But at the same time, it also makes sense from like a marketing standpoint. But then again, you're marketing an entire war and just branding that entire war and making everyone just think of Call of Duty instead of thinking about the actual war that happened. I don't know. I'm rambling at this point. I understand this. It's 9 a.m. here and I have not yet gone to sleep. My sleep schedule has been absolutely wrecked over the past week. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you guys definitely know that. I've been basically playing Modern Warfare Remastered all night, just watching live streams, talking about Call of Duty, thinking about Call of Duty, and this is what I've come up with so far. Basically, just a bunch of questions. That's all we can really have right now. Questions and theories and just discussions about the prospect of the game actually happening, and until we actually get some official marketing material or an official word from somebody, anybody with an official power regarding Call of Duty, then we just kind of have to take this for what it is, which is a rumor, a potential leak, but at the end of the day, still a rumor. But I still think it would be a pretty cool idea for a Call of Duty game. Now, if it turns out to be completely false, that's fine. I'm perfectly okay with that. I hope it's not. I hope it actually is a World War II game. What we've seen so far looks pretty freaking cool. But at the same time, a Vietnam game would be awesome. I would even be okay with a modern game. Right? I wouldn't be as happy, but I'd be okay with a modern game. I would be somewhat okay with a futuristic game if it really does take the series back to its roots and puts it back to boots on the ground and just makes it stand for everything that Call of Duty used to stand for compared to what Call of Duty kind of stands for now. They said they wanted to bring the series back to its roots, and I really do feel as though a new World War II game, especially with like the advertising of like back to basics and so on and so forth, that would really take the series back to its roots, and I think everybody's ready for that. So hopefully this is true. Fingers crossed. If it's not, I won't be heartbroken, but I would be disappointed. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts down there in the comment section below. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Drop me a rating. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.